For decades, George Clooney was Hollywood's golden image of perfection. The charm, the effortless smile, the elegant red carpet appearances. Everywhere he went, cameras captured a man who seemed untouchable. Fame, fortune, and the adoration of millions followed him like a halo. And when he appeared alongside his wife, Amal, the world assumed their love story was flawless. Every photograph, every interview, every public moment seemed to confirm that they had achieved what so many could only dream of, a marriage that was both glamorous and unshakable. But behind the public image, subtle cracks had begun to form. Small, almost invisible moments of tension, the quiet distance in their private lives, and the unspoken strains of long days apart painted a very different picture from the smiles the cameras captured. What really happened to this couple everyone assumed had it all? How could a love story that looked so perfect from the outside start to unravel quietly, almost imperceptibly, in the shadows of fame and expectation? To understand the heartbreak that followed, we have to go back to where it all began, to a man who had once sworn he would never fall in love again, and the journey that would eventually change him in ways no one could have predicted. After his brief and painful marriage to actress Talia Balsam in the early 1990s, George Clooney vowed never to tie himself to love again. To the world, he became Hollywood's eternal bachelor, charming, witty, and seemingly carefree. He filled his life with film sets, political activism, and late-night laughter, joking in interviews about how marriage simply wasn't his forte. Yet beneath the humor and headlines, there was a quiet loneliness. Fame could bring the world to his doorstep, but it could never fill the empty moments at night, when the lights dimmed and the cameras stopped rolling. Then, in 2013, during a quiet summer at his villa on Lake Como, something changed. A mutual friend introduced him to Amal Clooney, a brilliant human rights lawyer whose intelligence and composure seemed to exist entirely outside the Hollywood world. She wasn't dazzled by his fame, nor did she seek the spotlight. There was a calm, almost magnetic quality to her, a combination of brilliance, purpose, and quiet confidence that George hadn't encountered before. Meeting Amal wasn't just a new chapter in his life, it was a revelation. Their romance moved quickly, but it was grounded in real, human moments. The proposal, set in the kitchen of his villa, perfectly reflected the blend of humor and vulnerability that defined their relationship. George hid the ring in a drawer. Amal almost missed it. What should have been a polished, cinematic moment turned into a dance of awkward laughter, long silences, and George's nervous plea, "I'm 52 years old and my knee's going to give out soon." When Amal finally said yes, it wasn't just a response to a question, it was a moment that transformed George from the forever bachelor into a man ready to embrace love fully, to step into a life he had once thought was closed to him. This wasn't just a proposal or a fairy tale romance. It was a turning point that set the stage for one of Hollywood's most admired partnerships, a union that appeared perfect from the outside but would eventually be tested by distance, ambition, and time. After saying yes to George, Amal Clooney became more than just a partner. She became the center of a new, luminous chapter in his life. The world watched as the couple seemed to glide effortlessly through life, their image polished and enviable. In 2017, the birth of their twins, Ella and Alexander, marked what George would later call the greatest moment of his life. Fatherhood had reshaped him in ways fame and fortune never could. Together, they balanced the chaos of celebrity with purpose and grace. Amal's career flourished alongside George's, earning her recognition not just for her elegance, but for her intellect and impact on a global scale. She fought cases before the United Nations, argued complex human rights issues at the International Criminal Court, and inspired admiration across continents. George, meanwhile, transformed from Hollywood's charming bachelor into a devoted father and partner. He directed and acted in socially conscious films, worked on humanitarian causes, and showed a side of himself the public rarely saw: attentive, thoughtful, and deeply present. Together, they symbolized modern love, a marriage that blended glamour and brains, fame and purpose, passion and compassion. They were the picture of harmony, the couple everyone assumed had mastered the delicate art of balancing personal fulfillment with partnership. Yet, even in this seeming perfection, subtle tensions began to stir. Behind the smiles, behind the shared projects and family moments, there were tiny, almost invisible cracks, small, almost invisible moments of tension, the quiet distance in their private lives, and the unspoken strains of long days apart painted a very different picture from the smiles the cameras captured. By 2025, the lives of George and Amal Clooney, once so beautifully intertwined, began to drift in ways few could see. Amal had taken on a prestigious teaching role at the University of Oxford, her days filled with lectures, mentoring students, and managing high-profile international legal cases. Meanwhile, George was chasing a dream that had lingered for decades, his long-awaited Broadway debut. The demands of New York theater, late-night rehearsals, and performances stretched him thin, while Amal's world remained anchored in England, structured, precise, and relentless. The distance between them wasn't just measured in miles, it was emotional, too. Friends and insiders whispered that this wasn't the ordinary separation of two busy professionals. Reports claim it had grown into a quiet trial separation, one that neither wanted to admit publicly. While they maintained appearances at occasional public events and FaceTime calls bridged some gaps, the energy that had once bound them together was fading. Long silences replaced lively conversations, small moments of tension began to accumulate, and a sense of quiet fatigue settled over their relationship. Experts on relationships warn that couples who avoid conflict can sometimes mask the deepest troubles. Without confrontation, disappointment, hurt, and exhaustion can simmer beneath the surface, unspoken but relentless. For George and Amal, the silence wasn't just the absence of argument, it was the creeping presence of emotional distance, a subtle shift that few outside their inner circle could detect. The world still saw the perfect pair, smiling at red carpets and attending galas, but behind closed doors, the foundations of their union were quietly being tested. The tension that had been quietly building between George and Amal came to the surface one night in June 2025, during the Tony Awards in New York. To the world, they appeared flawless, the perfect couple, hand in hand, elegant and radiant beneath the bright lights and flashing cameras. Every smile, every gesture seemed to reinforce the image of a marriage untouched by time or distance. But behind the glamour, something different was unfolding. After years of disciplined sobriety, George chose that evening to catch up on what he had given up, indulging in a night of drinking that, in public, seemed harmless, even charming. To fans and the press, his behavior was laughed off as a playful, carefree moment. But for Amal, it wasn't about the act itself. It was about what it represented. Insiders say she was reminded of the man George used to be, the younger actor who had treated excess like a joke, who had shown little restraint, and whose old habits had once caused chaos in his life. Her disappointment wasn't a public outburst, but a quiet, piercing boundary. Friends report that she made it clear she wouldn't tolerate a return to patterns he had long left behind. To George, a man who prided himself on self-control and composure, the confrontation cut deep. He had built a life of stability, a family, and a partnership grounded in mutual respect. And that night reminded him of what he could still lose. What followed was weeks of tension and introspection. The $8.3 million estate in Provence, once a sanctuary, felt different. Dinners were polite, but thin. Conversations carefully measured. Amal's mornings were consumed by work and purpose. George wandered the gardens, rehearsing lines and sipping a drink that no longer brought joy, only reflection. The night at the Tonys didn't just mark a relapse. It symbolized the first real fracture in what had seemed an unbreakable bond. By the latter half of 2025, George and Amal Clooney were living in two worlds that, while geographically apart, mirrored the emotional distance between them. Amal settled into her rigorous life in England, raising twins Ella and Alexander, managing lectures at Oxford, and handling high-profile legal cases that demanded focus and precision. George, meanwhile, remained in New York, immersed in the whirlwind of his Broadway debut, rehearsals, and the quiet, reflective solitude of life in the city. Outwardly, they presented a picture of calm and composure. Interviews, red carpet appearances, and social events all suggested that the Clooneys were fine, that nothing had changed in the years of their partnership. But subtle signs betrayed the truth. Observers noted fleeting glances, polite smiles that didn't reach the eyes, and long silences in moments that once would have been filled with laughter and shared stories. The facade of perfection was holding, but only just. Meanwhile, the media circled, rumors and speculation growing louder with every passing week. Reports suggested that the couple was living what some insiders called a trial separation. Neither George nor Amal confirmed these whispers, and yet the very silence spoke volumes. The world saw the perfect couple, but those closest to them sensed the quiet tension, the undercurrent of something unresolved. Their reappearance at the Venice International Film Festival in August 2025 was emblematic of this duality. Cameras captured smiles, arm-in-arm appearances, and the glamour the world expected. Yet beneath those flawless public moments, the air between them held something else. The lingering pain of distance, ambition pulling them in separate directions, and the awareness that even love sometimes requires space to survive. Sometimes peace is just quiet sadness. For George and Amal, the smiles they wore were not just for the cameras. They were a fragile shield, a way of holding their private world intact even as the distance grew. After months of speculation, whispers, and carefully curated public appearances, the Clooneys finally offered a glimpse into the truth behind the headlines. Amal Clooney's rare interview with Glamour magazine in late 2025 was meant to celebrate her friendship with makeup artist Charlotte Tilbury, but her words about George captured far more attention. There was gratitude in her tone, acknowledgement of a partner who had always supported her ambitions, a man who had stepped in to care for their twins so she could pursue her work at the United Nations and Oxford. Yet, beneath the gratitude, there was also a trace of melancholy, as if she were reflecting on moments that had passed rather than living entirely in the present. George's own public words echoed the same quiet honesty. In a softly delivered interview, he spoke about the nature of marriage, describing it not as a static state, but as something that requires resilience and commitment, even as life and people change. Sometimes you can sit across from the person you love and feel miles away, he admitted, his voice calm yet tinged with vulnerability. There was no scandal, no dramatic accusations, only the truth of emotional distance and the quiet erosion of intimacy over time. This confession struck a chord precisely because it wasn't sensationalized. It revealed heartbreak through maturity, a reminder that even relationships admired by millions are subject to the pressures of ambition, distance, and the relentless passage of time. The Clooneys weren't performing for the public. They were sharing a rare human truth that love can endure even when it's complicated, even when it feels like connection is slipping away. Their openness offered a subtle hope amidst the sadness. While their words confirmed struggles and distance, they also highlighted the depth of respect, care, and love that remained. It wasn't chaos or anger that defined this chapter of their lives. It was acceptance, a recognition that relationships, like people, evolve and change, and that sometimes the most profound honesty is the one shared quietly between two people who still deeply care for each other. By late 2025, George and Amal Clooney had settled into a new rhythm of life, one that reflected both the realities of their ambitions and the delicate balance of their love. They lived separately but peacefully, each committed to raising their twins with care, structure, and respect. Amal thrived in England, fully immersed in her academic and legal work, her days structured around lectures, casework, and family. Her life was purposeful and disciplined, a reflection of the drive that had always defined her. George, on the other hand, remained mostly in Provence, tending to his vineyard, directing projects, and pursuing his long-awaited Broadway debut. In quiet moments, he reflected on time, aging, and the subtle changes that fame could not shield him from. He felt the passage of years in the lines on his face, the ache in his knees, and the bittersweet awareness that some parts of life, carefree youth, effortless charm, spontaneous connection, were now memories rather than present experiences. Yet even in solitude, he carried gratitude and love for the family he had built, even as the form of that love had shifted. Their relationship had transformed. The fire of early passion and constant closeness had softened into a quieter, more reflective connection. Distance no longer meant disconnection, but a recognition of their differences, their individual paths, and the respect they still held for each other. Their love existed now in smaller moments, a FaceTime call with the children, shared laughter over a bedtime story, a supportive word about a challenging day. It was no longer dramatic, headline-making love. It was lived, private, and measured. Perhaps this is what love often becomes. It doesn't always end in grand gestures or public declarations. Sometimes it changes shape. It evolves into a steady undercurrent of respect, shared history, and the willingness to let one another grow even when life pulls them in different directions. For George and Amal, this quiet evolution was both painful and beautiful, a testament to love's resilience and its vulnerability to the passage of time, ambition, and distance. Do you think love can survive when fame, time, and distance test it this deeply? Share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more untold Hollywood stories.